How to install KVM on Fedora 36. I'm going to cover how to install KVM on Fedora 36 step by step. Okay, let's get started. KVM stands for kernel-based virtual machine, and in short, it's an open source virtualization solution for the Linux kernel. It allows you to it supports both AMD and Intel CPUs, and it allows users to create and manage virtual machines on a Linux system. And the kernel functions as a hypervisor and allows you to virtualize your entire dedicated server and create multiple VMs. Now, the prerequisites for this are going to be a Fedora 36 with desktop environment. I have that. I have Xface here. This is my Fedora 36 with Xface. I have a sudo user with admin rights, and I have DNF. Okay, that should be good enough. And it also internet connectivity. First thing we're going to do is find out if our CPU is virtualization capable and if it's enabled. So for the Intel CPUs, which is what my MacBook Pro has, we're going to use this global regular expression finder, and we're going to filter for VMX flags in the process CPU info in this path here and in this file. This is the folder, this is the file, and we're going to look for VMX flags in this file here. Okay, we don't have to read through everything. We can see the VMX red flag here. So, okay, my CPU is virtualization capable and it's enabled. Okay, good. That's the first step. If you don't have that, then it doesn't make sense to go any further and try to create VMs if you don't have a CPU that can support virtualization. Okay. Now we're going to also check and see if we have KVM modules loaded or not. And we're going to use the list module command, and we're going to pipe that into the global regular expression finder, and we're going to look for KVM modules. Okay, good. We have KVM modules loaded. Okay, now we're going to install some virtualization packages. So we'll clear that, and we're going to install some virtualization packages that are required for creating the VMs on this system. The first thing you might want to do, just as a matter of routine, is do the standard DNF update command, just to make sure everything's updated, make things go smoother. Take a minute here. DNF's a little slow, I think, sometimes. I have it updated, so it should come back with nothing to do. Okay, system's updated, nothing to do. Okay, that's good. We'll clear that. Now we're going to install some virtualization packages. Now the first one, we can do a few on the same line. We don't have to do it separately. So we're going to use DNF, a standard DNF install command. And the first one will be, I already have them installed, so nothing will be installed because I already have it installed. But these are the packages you need to key in here. virtual install, virtual viewer, and then the Y flag is so we don't get prompted, I guess. So that it'll just install it without prompting me. Okay, well we already have it installed. You can see the virt install and the virt viewer are already installed. There's the version numbers there. Okay, so those are the first two. Actually, a quick little breakdown on the two packages here. Virt install is a command line tool for creating virtual machines from the command line, as opposed to the Virtual Machine Manager GUI that we'll look at later. And the virt viewer application is a lightweight UI interface that enables you to interact with the KVM virtual machine using VNC or some other remote desktop protocol. Okay, so the next package we're going to install is the libvirt virtualization daemon. Okay? And the command for that would be this. Again, I have it installed, so it should just say that it's already installed, nothing to do. Okay. You can see right here everything's already installed, but this is the command here. Okay, once the virtualization daemon has been installed, let's proceed and install the Virtual Machine Manager. Now this is going to be a graphical user interface program for creating and managing our virtual machines using the libvirt daemon. It's gonna connect to the VMM. The VMM program will connect to the underlying service of the libvirt daemon, running as a systemd service. So let's install that. Let's clear this. Go to our DNF again. Key in the command. Key in the package name here. Again, I already have it installed. I just want to show you how to key it in and whatnot. Okay, everything's already installed. And finally, let's install some additional virtualization tools to provide a seamless user experience. Okay, I can just go ahead and arrow in the base command here, and then just change what I need to change here. Top. libguest. File system. Tools, and then the Y flag here. Again, these are already installed. You can see the virt tab is installed, and then the other one's installed too. I guess this is that one here. Okay, so we've pretty much installed all the packages. Now we're going to start and enable the libvirtd virtualization daemon. So yeah, once we've installed all the required virtualization packages, we're going to start and enable the daemon as I call it daemon. Let's call it daemon. I think daemon sounds more cool, so we'll go with daemon. It's a daemon, right? Close enough. Okay, this is a system C. This is a system B system. So we're going to interact with it with the system control keyword here. Now we can we can start and enable on the same line, but just so we can kind of have a little bit more easy understanding of how to deal with system control, we'll put it on different lines. So we're going to start it. So it'll start now. And then we're going to key that in, and we're going to go ahead and enable it for later, because this start would only be for this session now. By keying in enable, it'll start over different reboots. So start it now, enable it for later, okay? And then check the status. It should be green, active, loaded, all that kind of good stuff. So we'll go status here. It should be green and loaded. Yep. Loaded, active, running, green. Okay, great. We don't have to read the rest of this. That's good. That service is running. Go ahead and stop that. Clear the screen. Okay. So we verify that the daemon is running. Now the next step is we're going to go to the VMM Virtual Machine Manager. Now I had it. It put it into the menus in here, and I simply put it on the desktop. So we'll pop that VMM open, Virtual Machine Manager. Go ahead and authenticate, and it connects to that. It connects to the service we just created, the daemon. Okay, so with the packages required by KVM already installed, we will now launch the virtual machine. We will now launch a virtual machine using the Virtual Machine Manager GUI utility, which we've opened here. You saw, you look for it in your menus here. You right click it and put it on your desktop. That's the way I did it. Okay, so once it's open, go ahead and go to the file here. We're going to add a new connection, and we're going to accept the QEMU KVM as the default hypervisor, and we're going to click connect. So we're going to accept this as the default, and we're just going to leave everything else, and we're going to connect to it. Now we're going to create a VM. Go up here, File. Before we did connection, add connection. Now we're just going to create a new virtual machine. So we'll click on that, and I'm going to install it from a Ubuntu.iso file that I downloaded from their website. So we're good here. We'll forward on that. And we're going to browse for it here. Let's see here. We're going to browse it here, I think. Okay. Go to the home. Go to the downloads. Look for it here. Got a bunch of stuff. And here it is right here. Here's the Ubuntu 2204 desktop.iso file. Okay, so we select that in our download folder, and we'll open on that. Okay, that's loaded into the VMM Machine Manager program here. And then we're going to forward on this. I don't think we have to do anything else on this screen here. And then this comes up. This is what we expected. Okay, that's fine. And I'm going to click yes to grant the emulator permissions to access the path of the ISO file. You can say, don't ask me again. Yeah, I don't need to be asked again. That's fine. So we'll go yes on that. Now we're going to provision it with RAM and CPU. Again, I'm not going to use this, so I'm not going to really spend. I'm not going to really, obsess over how much I'm going to provide, how much memory and whatnot. But yeah, you just have to figure out how much RAM you need to provide, and how many CPUs are on the host or whatever. So you need to provision this yourself, and then we'll forward on that. And this is for the hard drive. Again, how much space do you want to allocate on your hard drive for the installation? 25 is pretty good for a minimal. You'd probably want to go more because you're going to install stuff or whatnot. So whatever your minimum is, it'll just cover the installation and a bit more. But if you're going to be using it and installing updates and programs, you're going to want to allocate a pretty good chunk here. I think more than 20 or 20. Certainly more than 25 gigs. But for the purposes of the video, I'm just going to go ahead and accept on that. And then just give this the once over here. That's fine. Everything looks good to me. You know, everything that we did, it's kind of summarized here. And I'm going to finish on that. You can see all the provisioning we did here. Mainly for the memory and the CPUs and so the CPU, the memory, and the hard drive storage. And we'll finish on that. And it starts to create it. It's creating the VM. The virtual machine manager is creating the VM. Okay. Sorry. Let me maximize on that. Okay, great. So we have a countdown here. So while I'm trying to figure out while you're trying to figure out your next move, be aware of the countdown here. Otherwise, it'll just it'll boot whatever it's selected on. So let me just go ahead and arrow down just to give myself some time to think, so I don't have a countdown going on. It's pretty much it. We're pretty much at the end here. The virtual machine has been launched, and we see the grub menu options listed for installing the VM. From here, you can proceed to install the VM. So you got different options. You can arrow up and down. Obviously, the first one is going to be the option you want to select. That would be the entry you want to select. I'm not going to do it because my machine is not very powerful, so I don't even know if it would really boot up and whatnot. But yeah, at this point, that's pretty much about it. You've installed it. You created the virtual machine. Now it's just a matter of just selecting that, and then it'll install it. Install it, boot it up. You can log in and whatnot. So yeah, there you have it. Okay, in this video, I illustrated how to install KVM on Fedora 36. Okay, let me give you a quick little recap here. First of all, we checked to see if our CPU was virtualization capable and enabled. It has to be enabled. If it's not enabled, so yeah, there's two things here. It's capable, but it's not always enabled. You always have to make sure it's enabled. Sometimes you can just go into the BIOS or the UEFI menu and enable it there. So we checked to see if it was capable and enabled, and then we checked to see if the KVM modules were loaded. Then we installed some virtualization packages after doing a system update, a standard DNF system update. And then after we installed the packages, we started and enabled the libvirtd virtualization daemon. So we started it for now, enabled it for later, and then we checked the status to make sure it was active and loaded. And then we launched the VMM, the Virtual Machine Manager GUI program, and we had to authenticate and log in. We connected to the underlying service, the KVM service. We connected, and then we went ahead and went into File and created a new machine. So we went through the process of creating a new machine, and our source was the ubuntu.iso file that we downloaded from their site, and then we went ahead and provisioned it for some hardware resources, mainly the CPU, the memory, and the amount of space you want to allocate on your hard drive. And then we finished, and then once we did all that, we clicked finish. It created the VM for us and put us on a grub screen, which is where we're at right now. And like I said, keep an eye on the countdown here, so it doesn't, while you're waiting or you walk away or something, then it'll just boot. It'll like go ahead and do whatever it's going to do on whatever entry is highlighted. So to kill the countdown, just arrow down, go back up, and you can have some time to think about what you need to do. Okay, so you get to this point, you click install, Like I said, I'm not going to do it. My machine's a little underpowered. But at this point, I would imagine, at some point, it'll give you a login screen. You might have to actually, well, what you're going to have to go, the next steps are going to be to go through the standard process of installing Ubuntu as if you were just installing it on any other machine. So it's not going to just log you in right after this point here. You're going to have to install Ubuntu. I'm not going to go through that. But, the standard procedure for installing Ubuntu, setting up your partition table, your user, what packages, all that, your desktop, whatever's going to be in there. And then it'll reboot, then it'll probably give you a login screen. Okay, I think that's about it. So there you have it. I once more I illustrated how to install a KVM on Fedora 36, and I would be glad to have your feedback on this video tutorial. Okay, thank you.